if you look closely, is real messy. Sketching is a messy thing. Not very clean, but that's why we're using light marks. Low amounts of pressure. This is a 4B pencil, so it's a relatively light mark for a 4B pencil. But now there we have roughly something that's similar to what we wanted to do, but we also have a great big mess. Can always use the kneaded eraser and clean up the mess and get rid of all the leftover stuff we don't need. But another useful technique to take a sketch to something that you actually want to be a lot cleaner with, something more finalized picture, is rip this off, turn it over, get one of my softer pencils, go over the back of what I just drew, and turn it back over. Follow, almost like tracing, the parts of the curve that I want to keep. And remove the paper. Don't know if you can see it, it's really dim, but now there is the curve. I transferred it, it was nice and clean, very light mark, and I could do shading around it and not have to worry about it interfering with something later on. Sketching the edges and outlines of a portrait are very important, but what you'll find out is a lot of what a portrait consists of is very subtle shading. So here's a couple of techniques that are really quick ways to shade. The first one is based off of the line. It's called hatching. Basically what hatching is a bunch of parallel lines. It's an optical illusion of sorts. The closer together the lines are, the darker it looks. It's something that you need to see from a distance, but basically that's how you build up value. Cross-hatching is overlaying those lines with lines in a different direction. Doesn't matter which direction they are. Just building them up, and you'll just get darker and darker and darker. It's a way of building value besides putting the lines real close together. Another alternate to cross-hatching and hatching is contour hatching, which is basically the same thing, except the lines follow the form of whatever they're intended to represent. They're not straight lines. Good place to see contour cross-hatching is get some of that money out of your pocket, look at the portrait on it. You'll see the curved lines following the face. Since these are both line techniques, they're used a lot in mediums that rely on a line, like pen and ink or engraving, because you cannot vary the value of each stroke. You're dependent on building up lines of equal value to create different values. Now, one of the reasons we sharpen the pencil this way is so we don't have to depend on the fine line that is difficult to vary its value. Pencil sharpened in this manner allows us to make very broad lines. Now, because the pressure is distributed over a larger area, we can control the value of these broad lines much easier by alternating the amount of pressure we put on the pencil. Now, using the similar idea of cross-hatching, we can overlap our broad lines and create a large, somewhat evenly shaded area. Now, rhythm is very important in art, so having some music playing is great when you're drawing, because the rhythm that you use in these strokes in this way depends a lot on how much graphite is laid down and the value and the smoothness of your shadowing. Now, you can still use ideas from cross-hatching by going over in a different direction. Now, I said before in the past episode that the paper has texture. That texture's like teeth. When you go in one direction, you're only hitting the texture from one side, as if it were a mountain and a snowstorm was coming over. The snow was only covering one side of the mountain. By varying the direction, you are able to smooth in the shading area and get rid of some of the white spots that the texture of the paper will leave. Now, it's important to use light amounts of pressure and slowly build up your values. A good way to check is to see if you're pushing too hard, is to check with your eraser and see if you can actually get rid of it relatively easily. I'm using a 4B pencil, so it can go quite a bit darker than that. But if I do, I'll never be able to erase it. And as I said before, we don't make mistakes, but something you can erase is permanent. Sketching is all about having fun, about getting that pencil to the paper and making the marks as fast as you can. You know, don't worry about, oh, that mark's in the wrong place, or oh, I messed up. That's not the point of a sketch. The point of a sketch is start out lightly and keep your pencil moving and getting something to happen. You learn quite a bit doing sketches because you're in the moment. Your brain's not thinking about, oh, no, wait, you messed up. You put the mark in the wrong place. Nothing's telling you that this is what you have to do. Just keep the pencil moving. That's all. There's nothing complicated to a sketch. You don't have to judge yourself by a sketch. Sketches are kind of like an exercise. You learn a whole lot from doing them. One, you'll become comfortable with your pencil. Be comfortable making marks. You learn not to worry about every single thing, or if you're wrong or doing it right. That's why you start them out light. Every mark you put on that paper is a reference point. It's a reference point for you to go off of. You know, just as those reference points build up, you start to see new things. You just slowly build up your values. If you're watching these videos, you're probably a doodler. If you're a doodler, it means you've probably, at one time or another, been talking on the phone and busy jotting something down, nonsense little shapes or whatever. That's kind of like what sketching is. It's your brain's not thinking about what you're doing, just in the moment, putting down little shapes, not caring what the final outcome is going to be. You learn a lot from doing sketches. You learn to trust yourself. You learn that there really are no mistakes. And sometimes you'll surprise yourself. Go, wow, really like that. And if you find something you like, you can always, I showed you how to transfer. You can always transfer the edges of your sketch and try to polish it off, make it a little smoother. The thing is, do a lot of little quick sketches. You'll learn a whole lot more than trying to tackle one big finished piece. A lot of times the finishing part, getting all those details just right, is where something messes up. The essence of a picture is always in the beginning of it. So just let yourself have fun. Don't give your brain a chance to kick in. Keep that pencil going. You know, don't like it, flip the page, start all over again. You can do sketches in minutes.